The screams echoed in your ears, Crush. What the hell do you think you're doing? Look at that useless trash over there. Siren is urging you to quickly seize that curse from him, so get moving. Hurry up, Crush. Close your eyes tight and think, damn it, I've reached my limit too. My voice is trembling. I'm taking it now. Right now. Your hand with the spell and the deep purple energy reaches out. Crush, born from the strongest clan, suddenly your pupils widen. Crush channels his aura into a long twisted line towards his origin, like a curse itself, right after that. The fabric on his shoulder was torn, and just like that, Crush's hand continuously emitted mysterious purple energy among the heroes rising against the world's decay. You were the one standing alone in what they call the Green Generation. The next moment, Crush spat out a mouthful of fresh blood, while Siren ignored you and handed a vial to Arthur. Here, Sir Arthur. Please drink this vial, sir. He suddenly looked up at the sky, just in time to see the Grim Reaper riding a dragon holding a sharp axe flying in and continuously creating fiery red orbs falling down. The guy let out a loud roar, releasing several sound circles, and the fireballs immediately slammed into the ground. The priest trembled and spoke. Are we really going to defeat the Grim Reaper Knight? With just that many people, the sword fell from his hand. He asserted it was impossible. Sigran Abela Mary, everyone come here. The whole group rushed towards the priest, calling out to him. Crush in his tattered outfit looked up and shouted, Priest, what the hell are you doing? He looked down and replied, I will end this right here. At this moment, the hope of this world has been severed. Only ruins remain. You bloodied and gritting your teeth questioned him. Are you giving up? After everything we've done to bring you here, do you know how many people have died because of this? Or because you keep playing around with those things? Have you finally lost your mind? Shiran couldn't hold back and shouted, Shut up! Siran, the third princess of the Apania Empire. The Green Generation now crossed her arms and cursed the priest. I've tried my best. You're just trash who knows nothing but to steal. Don't you dare argue with the priest after hearing that you covered your face and repeated, Trash? Who are you calling trash? How dare you say that to the one who saved your lives? Listen, you wouldn't even have made it here if it weren't for my skills. If you've forgotten, let me remind you, starting with you, Abela, the Red Witch of the Magic Tower, the Green Generation. Now, regardless, just teary-eyed, you asked, Priest, are you okay? Crush yelled, You were the one who said you wouldn't be able to use magic if you lost your voice. Didn't you beg me to take away that curse? Why? Now we have to bear your curse. And yet you attacked me when I went to get pain relief. You remember her cold face, and even now, your disdain for others hasn't changed a bit. And beside you is the strongest spear of the Merry Empire, Diana, the royal knight of the A generation. You the fool rushed in without thinking and got caught in all sorts of trouble. The curse, and then you whined for me to take away the pain. And princess, you call your savior who sacrificed her eyes for your garbage. Why have you targeted me since the academy? Just because I belong to the Starling Kingdom. Even after being bullied like that, I recall the time I was beaten and humiliated. Look at that loser. He can't even fight back. Is he really that stupid? Your tone is getting more and more abrasive. I've endured everything just to heal your eyes. Why? Because you are the ones from the A generation who can save this country. Meanwhile, I'm hated by the entire kingdom just for not being able to fight. I've cleaned up your mess all this time. What does it all mean in the end? I don't care about others, but you all must be the ones to save the world. You must lead those fools. I've seen you stand at the forefront of the A generation, and I've resolved to be by your side until the very end. So why are you giving up so easily? At this moment, you finally parted your lips. Now I can speak the truth. As I said, this world is finished. So I will do everything from the beginning. You widen your eyes, questioning, what are you talking about? He calmly explains, that's right. This isn't the first time I've witnessed the apocalypse. Because you crush when you hear Arthur's next words, my skill is regression. Now I will cast the memory storage spell. And we can go back to the past with intact memories. You suddenly have a thought, if everyone could start over with their current experiences when Crush deduces, then the chances of preventing the apocalypse in the next world will skyrocket. You embrace your own and laugh out loud. That's my plan. I will start over with these 3. 4 of you, what about me? He suddenly smirks mysteriously. You raise your finger to emphasize we don't need you. You instinctively place your hand on your chest, feeling as if you've been struck dumb. You point to your head, acknowledging that your black hat skill is indeed useful. It's true that you can steal even the most inviolable curses, but what good is regression with a broken person like you? Honestly, what can you even do? So wouldn't it be better to wipe your memory so you can become a completely different person in the new world? Crush drops a tear wondering. So I'm just a one-time tool for you. This bastard has seen me as disposable from the start. He smirks derisively. Don't worry, I'll make good use of you in the next world and the world after that. You widen your eyes listening to R's words in your ear. See you later, Crush. You hurriedly stand up, walking away, shouting, wait. As Grass reaches out towards them, deep down you've always known this. When the A generation ignores Grass, just stands there watching. You know. He never truly saw you as a teammate. You Crush fall in despair, screaming, take me with you, you bastard. In front just laughs maniacally. Crush's consciousness fades due to the accumulated curses. Your life will extinguish before this world can collapse. Crush clenched his fists, calming himself down. No way he wouldn't let it end like this. He reminded himself that he would become the strongest, the most important character. Alone, he would defeat the dragon triumphing with his intellect. He would conquer the 4 black-clad heavenly kings using skills that not only stole curses, but also techniques he had never tried before with his master. Because his skills weren't just ordinary curses, but this time it was worth the risk a fan of black-clad skills suddenly caught his attention. A surge of energy radiated around his master. The energy from his hand gradually touched him. Crush continuously controlled his spiritual power from behind. Suddenly he froze, letting out a groan as his tongue flicked out, licking around his teeth on that hand. Under Crush's palm, a similar situation seemed to arise, as a voice echoed, "Master, have you still not let go?" He closed his eyes and bowed his head. He withdrew his hand, hesitantly speaking up, "You've gone through countless apocalypses, and every time I lost my value, you tossed me aside like trash. You abandoned me. In a world on the brink of destruction, time and again, I wondered how many times I had tasted that despair. But this time, Master, you are the one left behind." He spoke in confusion. "Are you going crazy?" Crush remained silent, smiling brightly like a flower. At that moment, the Grim Reaper was flying down from above, and Crush joyfully pointed his hand to the sky. Maybe that's it. He looked at the man's face with bright pupils, repeating, "Didn't you say that? This world is about to end." Master jolted sweat streaming down his face. He widened his eyes, tears welling at the corners. Moments later, Master stiffened and collapsed. Crush turned his gaze to the Grim Reaper and shouted, "If you don't want to die, fight for yourself." The man quickly unleashed a surge of energy. Crush emphasized each word, "I will be the one to save the new world." Not long after Crush kept his eyes tightly shut, suddenly furrowing his brow as his breath became labored. When he abruptly opened his eyes wide, he raised his hand towards the chandelier, letting out a piercing scream. Grass froze for a moment at the sight before him. He noticed the familiar door out there. Grass scanned the room, puzzled. "Isn't this my childhood home?" Crash returned to when he was 13, and as the regression completed, he panicked and shouted, "Am I young again?" The world was eroded, a phenomenon, when the world was invaded by another dimension. When erosion occurred, the environment would change for the worse. Invasive creatures from that world flooded in among them, were those who looked human, called invaders. The people ran in panic upon seeing them. "There's an invader, run and report to the night team." Those who stood up against the world's erosion slowly raised their staffs forward. The call rang out, and the battle began. That group charged forward together. They were called the Generation A. Crush raised his hand, filled with purple spiritual power, and with a body that could only seal curses. He joined Generation A, yet he was treated as a mere tool for containing the curse. Ultimately betrayed by his teammates, Crush's life was indeed miserable. Back in reality, he gasped, finding himself in the body of a child, and couldn't help but scream in horror. He looked around the well-furnished room, puzzled. Is this my room? Just moments ago, it was the freezing winter, and now it was summer hot enough to sweat. If he was at the Green Pie estate, where he lived as a child, then it meant the last card he used was the Black Hat on Master. He had successfully stolen his regression skill, hadn't he? Crush ran his fingers through his hair, chuckling faintly. He glanced sideways, wondering, but how could I steal it? People often thought of Black Hat skills were skills that could be used freely without limits, but they had a fatal weakness. The Black Hat could only steal the target's items when the user unlocked it. That unlocking mechanism was created based on the value the owner assigned to the item. Even a pebble on the road, if the owner considered it a treasure, the difficulty would skyrocket. The condition for unlocking was to transfer 99% of the value. The world produces a master with unique skills that the opponent highly values, and the difficulty of stealing must be incredibly high, making the reward even greater. The more conditions there are, the harder they are to fulfill. What was he thinking in his head? When the Crush realized the Black Hat had activated at that moment. But you didn't see the Crush mumbling about not having a lock like that. Does that mean he really wants to get rid of this skill? He wants to give up the Q revival skill. Reflecting on the past, sometimes he showed an utterly exhausted expression, acting as if he were completing a mission. Reluctantly like that. A world continuously heading toward destruction like this. If he has to keep repeating that alone, time and again, he surely wouldn't be able to keep his sanity anymore. The Crush pondered as he drowned in his own tragedy, not pretending to save the world all by himself. Perhaps for him, regression is no different from a curse. That's why he wants the other three to inherit the memories and regress with them, while excluding himself from the skill he stole with the Black Hat. Meaning, the version of him that the Crush knows has lost the regression skill, and he has been left behind in a world on the brink of destruction, dying under the meteor shower of the blue night. Meaning he has died and returned to reality. The Crush stood up coldly, stating, "I've taken away what you wanted to discard the most. You should be thanking me for this." He smirked slightly. The Crush recalled his own miserable past, thinking, "You always reject me as if bearing the curse is something anyone can do. You never paid attention to the teammates suffering in the shadows." At that moment, the Crush perhaps felt worse than death tears always ready to spill. He smirked, feeling satisfied. Serves you right. Trash. The scene shifted to the hallway of the Green Pie mansion. Before leaving the room, he looked in the mirror, silently thinking how small he looked around 10 years old. Short in stature, but with a solid build, the result of day and night training in swordsmanship to survive in the Vanham clan, the strongest martial arts family in the Starling Kingdom. When he looked out at the garden, he speculated that if he was in the Green Pie mansion, it meant the proofing ceremony for turning 10 had just concluded. The proofing ceremony of the Vanham clan, where abilities are demonstrated by revealing the deity that has made a pact and the skills granted. The main lineage of Vanham is always respected. But the crush was the only exception. He had no martial arts abilities since birth, because no deity chose him, and afterward he was expelled from the main estate. He recalled the moment he stood alone in front of the massive gate, biting his lip in anger, being sent to the Green Pie Villa where failures were confined. Now only he, the most incompetent one in the Van Hem clan, knew of the impending apocalypse, a disaster that even the current generation could not prevent. Could he stop it? The crush imagined a pile of corpses lying on top of each other, mumbling about the day of the world's doom. He trembled, raising his tiny arm high, then immediately clenched his fist, reminding himself, "No more complaining. This isn't about whether I can do it or not. It's about what I must do, because if the world perishes, I die with it." The crush clenched his 10 fingers, displaying a devilish face, leaving no other choice. And the first step to prevent the disaster is... Just then, footsteps echoed. Ares placed a hand on his chest, bowing at a 90-degree angle, calling the young master. He immediately recognized the familiar figure Ariel. He was still alive, huh? Then cheerfully asked him what he was doing here. Ariel, the only butler of the Green Pie Villa, took the hand of his crush and replied, "What's going on?" "The young master Ariot was the one taking care of a failure like you, but his face suddenly drenched in sweat when he heard the whisper of the poison that my brother had given him to kill me. You opened your eyes wide like a soulless person questioning him when he planned to use it. That guy was the mastermind behind making my crush drink the 54-year-old poison and taught you your first lesson in betrayal in life as the scene shifted to the training area where young men were being thrown around everywhere. And the one defeating them was a girl with a long weapon in hand. Her entire being radiated a mysterious aura as the others fell to the ground. The crowd watching couldn't help but exclaim in astonishment, is she really only 15? The knights couldn't even touch her, and the title of Holy Sword wasn't just for show. Scarlett Van Hem, the sister of my crush, monotonously spoke up, sounding bored. Everyone was discussing, and rumors spread that she was a once-in-a-thousand-years genius. That's right, that's why the family has high hopes for her. Bilokeen Van Hem, the half-brother of my crush, heard all of this. A genius born from new blood, that's what people say about her. Thanks to her, the Van Hem family will never perish. He glared with a tone full of killing intent. I will wipe out that entire bloodline. But that woman is too dangerous. Her mother is quite formidable too. The two sitting in front continued to whisper. What's going on with Lord Bilokin? Shut up. Bilokin grinned savagely. So it's just that user's failure left. Not long after he placed both hands on the table discussing with Ares, I plan to kill him before you do Ares. You must be in a tough spot, right? Just because of my crush, your career is at a standstill. If you make my crush drink just one drop of this, the treatment for your daughter and all debts will be resolved. Knowing clearly why, hesitate any longer. He lowered his head in opposition. The crush is someone I raised like my own child. How could I do that to him? He crossed his arms and exhaled sharply. Ariel, will you choose someone else's child over your own daughter? Ariel bit his lip tightly, his voice trembling. No. Suddenly someone coughed up a mouthful of fresh blood in front of the plate of food. A small hand raised up and shouted in panic. My crush, with tears welling up, looked at him as he felt confused, calling out, Ariet. He clutched his neck, his voice trembling. I'm so sorry, young Master Crush. Before you regress, Ariet had planned to assassinate you then. He gently stroked my crush's cheek. Young Master Crush is as precious to me as my own child. Moments later, Ares dropped the powder onto the ground, groaning, What have I done? Ariel couldn't bear the feeling of guilt, so he consumed the poison soup before passing away. Back to reality, he widened his eyes, hearing the poison that his brother had given him to kill me, emphasizing each word. When are you planning to use it? Ariel jumped in shock, shouting, What poison? Grass frowned, exposing, Are you pretending to be ignorant? You intended to kill me a failure for the sake of your daughter. He lowered his head, listening to the questioning. Do you think I don't know? My crush thought, if this continues, I will corner him again. He sighed. Well, if you want to pretend, then go ahead. If I hadn't been a failure from the start, you wouldn't have taken that order. Ariel frowned, contemplating, thinking he would blame himself for betraying or cry in anger. But no, my crush suddenly turned around towards him. Go ahead and raise your hand to speak for Lofeta. He was startled, wondering if his crush had changed. The scene shifts to the library filled with neatly arranged books. Ares looked around, questioning why they suddenly ended up in the study. His crush reached out to the nearby wall, calling for Ares to break it down. He exclaimed in surprise, What? You laughed, saying, if it were the butler of the Van Hem family. This should be easy, right? Ares hesitated before replying, Of course. Then he lightly lifted one foot, kneeling down, and drew his sword. A surge of energy immediately radiated from the weapon. He quickly slashed a few times, causing the wall to crack, and moments later it collapsed, revealing a passage inside. His crush exclaimed, Wow, that was a clean cut. Ariot was taken aback. There's a secret passage here. He walked ahead, praising, Well done, Ariot. He followed his crush's silhouette, pondering just as he thought. He was completely different from the person he was yesterday. Was he using luminous jade to light the way? He exuded a kind of aura that reminded him of the family head. What on earth happened? His crush widened his eyes, recalling past memories. The last time he came, everything was in ruins, but this time he arrived just in time before that happened. Ariel suggested, Young master, let me break the chains. He glanced back, stopping him. You can't break these chains, his crush said, raising his hand and grinning. How about I test my skills this time, Black Hat technique? His energy surged toward the chains, effortlessly cutting through them. Moments later, his crush grabbed the key hook, leaving Ariel astonished. He dropped it, muttering, "It's so heavy. My skills haven't faded, huh?" He was curious. "Young master, have you made a pact with the divine?" Hearing that, his crush felt a bit dizzy, realizing, "So I haven't made a pact yet." Then he spoke up, "Yeah, I just signed with an unnamed deity. As for the library, feel free to report it to my father." Arios was momentarily at a loss for what to do. He remembered just yesterday. The young master's gaze was like someone who had lost their reason to exist, but in just one night he had changed thanks to signing a divine pact. Surely he must have gained a powerful skill. After all, he shed blood with the greatest genius of Vanhem. Even if he couldn't show his true colors, the current young master crush was likely feeling tense, swallowing hard. Ares called out, "Young master," making him glance back. He placed a hand on his chest, assuring, "At least until you finish what you plan to do, I won't reveal this to anyone." Crush felt a bit down, thinking to himself, "I see." This was the drawback of regression. His actions were different from the past, so Ariel was also changing. But Ariel, a traitor, would forever live in his memories. Was he also enduring this paradox? Was that why he made me learn the regression skill? Ariel thought, "If I heal his daughter, surely he will swear loyalty to me. I should increase the number of pieces I can use." While living here, Grass suddenly turned around, waving his hand, saying, "Do whatever you want." He thought about healing his daughter later. Right now, the secret library should be my priority. As the door creaked open, a red aura rushed out, and his crush's pupils widened immediately afterward. Suddenly, a flame shot straight toward the two of them, and he couldn't help but feel terrified at the sight he had just witnessed. His crush sensed that energy and muttered surprise that after all the times the world had worn him down, he still felt a shiver in this place. There was no doubt that the secret technique of that person was definitely here. Not long after, he noticed a thick book he found, and the secret library of Lamtonkat, where the ancestors deemed failures of the Vanhem family had recorded all their techniques and memories. It wasn't just skills, it was the culmination of humanity, and this was the place that preserved the secrets to reach the ultimate realm. Anyone could enter here, but only because of one person. And it had become the secret library of that person, Demaris Vanhem. He was the worst failure in the history of Vanhem, but also the one consumed by the world's erosion. Then he became the strongest. At this moment, his crush forced a smile, slowly raised his arm, and placed his hand on the book silently, thinking, "I'm sorry for being late, dear ancestors. Now it belongs to me." The secret left by that terrible failure was a secret about to be revealed, the one whose red-hot eyes only showed his pure white teeth. Demaris Vanhem, he is the worst failure in the history of the Vanhem family, but at the same time, he was the strongest to ever appear here when he was at the peak of his power. The image of Demaris fighting alone appeared facing the strongest warriors in the world who challenged him. He unleashed his power and in the blink of an eye wiped them all out. Despite many strong opponents, no one could stop him. On Demaris, there was a deadly poison that seeped into his blood. As his crush held the book in his hands, he had fused the world's erosion into his body and held the insane secret to control that power. He remembered the past when he didn't have the complete book. Half of it had been burned. So he didn't understand why. Demaris ended up like that. Then he smiled with delight, wondering if he had gone insane, because he couldn't control the chaos of erosion. His crush recalled the past when cursed by the world's erosion. He attacked himself using a black hood to weaken the curse, and somehow he managed to endure by balancing with other curses. He stared intently at the book, silently calculating if the same principle applied to the chaos of the deadly poison. On one side was a white serpent. On the other side was a black fruit. His crush thought, and somehow he had managed to endure. By balancing with other curses, those two beasts fused together, creating a round orb. He looked into it and used his skill, feeling proud that he could also become strong like Demaris. Young Master Grass called out to Ariette. Ariette immediately responded, "Yes, young Master Grass." He ordered, "From today on, ensure that no one enters Lamtonkat. That is an order." He immediately complied, "Yes, I understand." Ariette adjusted his glasses, feeling touched that the young master had overlooked his mistake. He had to repay this kindness. "I will refuse the offer from young Master Bilokin because my master is young Master Crush." In the Bilokin room, he was furious. "What did you just say? You refused my invitation. Just because of that fool." He continuously cursed, unable to let trash like him remain in the Vanhem family, that bastard. The two of them were called rare geniuses, and that failure. It really drove me crazy. Bilokin recalled the past, thinking, if it weren't for the filthy bloodline of that one, then both Lily and I would have retained our positions in the clan. He remembered Lilith's disgusted face, and Bilokin gritted his teeth, snapping, "Hey, subordinate, did you call for me?" "You Bilokin, tell your subordinate to find out why that butler changed his mind and investigate thoroughly." The subordinate reported back to him, "But we can't get inside." Bilokin was shocked. "What?" The subordinate replied that the butler Ariel of the Crush Lord has sealed off the entrance and banned everyone, including the master, from entering Tantung. Bilokin frowned, his voice tense. "Banned even the master. This is outrageous. While the Crush is cultivating," he snapped. "You're being too arrogant." That failure. On this side, he let out a breath. The Crush excitedly said, "Finally, I've reached the initial stage of a specialist." He mentally reviewed the levels of energy. There are many levels of energy, master, specialist energy. And the initial stage is basic energy, the state of just learning to use energy. The Crush thought about the second stage, which is the specialist level. It's the level that many people reach, and it's also the boundary that separates ordinary people from geniuses. He admired that he had only reached the level of an ordinary person, while Sacklot, just 2 years older than him, was already a talented energy master. It's truly amazing, but when the Crush remembered her fallen image, even Sacklot, an extraordinary monster, was powerless. The tired and frustrated face of Sacklot appeared before the destruction. He pondered, I'm still just a novice. The Crush sadly thought, can I save the world at this rate? But the Crush growing up spoke up, if you don't try, you'll never know. His grown-up self complained that it was useless. From the beginning, we couldn't use energy before reversing time, due to the curse, but now it's different. The scene of her standing under the bright sunlight, though she couldn't compare to Sacklot, looking at the book on the table, the Crush thought, but I can still develop if I grasp the skills left by that failure. Both his grown-up self and the young Crush were determined. His magic power was overflowing and he could become stronger. For now, this is enough. He took a towel and walked over, kindly calling the young master. Congratulations, you've reached the initial stage of the specialist level. The Crush took the towel, replied, it's nothing much, while wiping himself, and asked, more importantly, why are you waiting in a place like this? Ariot respectfully replied, your fiancée, Miss Bianca Hardenhart, has arrived at Tantung. The Crush was surprised to hear this name. He immediately thought of Bianca from later on, the white demon Bianca. He remembered her appearance on the battlefield. Although she was the leader, she had become a pawn for those who wanted to conquer the world and destroy it. She was also the one who defeated one of the 10 great heavenly generals to earn the title of White Demon. The Crush looked down from the window, even though she was currently just the youngest daughter of the Hayden family. At this moment, the small girl was standing under the gate, waiting for a political marriage. He thought about the marriage alliance, even though she was currently just the youngest daughter of the Hayden family. The Van Ham family had the opportunity to get rid of the useless failure. Meanwhile, the Hayden family would become the Lord of the North, an ally with the strongest warrior clan. The Crush mocked himself. Both of us are being used by our families. Bianca is waiting below. The Crush said, actually, I also have business to discuss with Bianca. I didn't expect her to come here on her own. He thought about her past. Bianca Hardenhart, the youngest daughter of the Harden family, the Lord of the North, because her mother was affected by the curse that eroded the world. Before she was born, so from the moment she was born, she had no emotions. The image of an emotionless newborn appeared. The curse had deeply embedded itself in her soul, unbreakable by exorcism. And with a contaminated body, she couldn't form a pact with the divine. He reflected that she was even seen as a cursed child born by sacrificing her mother's life. The scene of her being alone appeared, so Bianca was treated coldly by the Hayden family. The Crush wondered, I wonder if Bianca hates me. You're just calculating in your heart, as long as it doesn't interfere with breaking Bianca's curse, it's fine. Because the Snowdoll is the necessary curse to control the frenzy when the poison seeps into your Crush's blood. He turned to ask, is it really okay to go out like this? He understood and replied, I'll prepare a set of clothes for you to change into. You said, yeah, thanks, in order to invite her inside and told her to wait a moment when you pushed Bianca aside 5 months ago. You rudely told her to get lost. You only care about the power of the Van Ham family. So don't pretend to be my fiancé. You still have no feelings just standing there watching. At this moment, Bianca stood alone in the large room, exhaling, saying she didn't want to be here either. Bianca thought about what they told her. Girl, the only way for the Haydenhart family to survive is to rely on the Van Ham family. After all, she has a pretty face and will surely win the favor of the young master. Come on. The old man patted her shoulder. Bianca. Bianca touched her shoulder, recalling the fate of the Haydenhart family resting on her shoulders. She thought even without emotions, she could still distinguish right from wrong. Bianca remembered the arrogant look of her Crush and thought to herself, if she weren't forced into this marriage by her family, politics is a place for someone who often curses, is pessimistic, and fails like him. She rubbed her shoulder, hating in her heart that he was exactly the kind of person she would definitely reject. A moment later, her Crush panicked. Oh no! He awkwardly laughed, saying he didn't expect them to serve hot tea like this. For someone with a sensitive palate like you, I'll remind the servant later. Let's just leave it here for now. Bianca remained expressionless, looking at you, then out to the garden, suggesting, the weather is nice today. Shall we take a stroll in the garden? There must be many types of flowers that can't grow in the north, she exclaimed, agreeing. Grass, go tell Ariet to bring some macadamia cookies to the garden. Ariet immediately complied. Yes, my lord. As he walked, he struck up a conversation. Bianca, you must have had a hard time getting here. She coldly replied, since we are engaged, meetings like this are quite necessary. Is that so? He asked. You smiled and said, that's right. I feel like you're talking to your fiancé in a tone as if you're speaking to a superior, not a lover. Bianca observed your expression. Comparing it to the last time they met, she noticed that your eyes were sharp like a knife back then. But today it was completely different. Besides, she had never revealed that she liked macadamia cookies to you. Once outside in the garden, you gazed around, enjoying the peaceful atmosphere. She asked, do you really think it's you, Crush? After she asked, there was silence. You were quiet for a moment, then touched your head, exuding a bit of hostility, saying, have I changed that much? Bianca sensed the hostility and immediately bowed her head, expressing, I'm sorry, my lord, it's my fault. You silently cursed, damn it, that's not what I meant. You tried to recall your memories, but your memories of that time were too vague, so you couldn't remember how you treated Bianca before. The only thing you clearly remembered was looking at Bianca. It was this expression of Bianca that reminded you of the moment she was about to leave. She had the exact same look as that day. When collapsing in front of the North Sea villa, your crush reluctantly brushed it aside, joking that you couldn't blame her for being suspicious, Bianca. When I collapsed in front of the North Sea villa, my crush reluctantly set it aside, for now joking that he couldn't blame Bianca for being suspicious. Recently, I just signed a pact with a god. You naively believe that's why your personality has changed, right? Bianca congratulates you, young master, for speaking up about your crush, and I have something to propose to you. I want you to guess who is ready to make a pact with the divine. You have another proposal for me. Are you wondering if it's about breaking off the engagement? Why would you think that? You mean to say, if you don't want to marry someone like me and you want to break the engagement, then please, Bianca, think about it. You're putting yourself down. Even though you have Van Hem blood, why does your crush feel so insecure? She lets out a sigh, assuring me that I will be his fiancé, and that won't change. You blush, wondering how long it's been since you heard such words. It's so genuine, isn't it? You regain your composure and say it out loud. All right, let's get down to business. With the power you just awakened when your crush raises his hand to propose, do you want to lift the curse that even the experts can't break? You're surprised and skeptical. Did he really say to lift that unbreakable curse? Without hesitation, Bianca confirms. So you want to take on that curse? You immediately respond, yes, I need to use it. If you agree to give it to me, I will grant you any wish. Even destruction is fine. You analyze that this is a situation where the curse becomes beneficial for you. You know your crush is seen as a failure. If that's the case, he will definitely have conflicts with the mainstream. Bianca imagines that your crush has become numb, perhaps because he's so exhausted that he wants to erase all emotions. Always, you don't answer right away because you're busy speculating. Could this be a psychological issue? Bianca recalls a psychologist who once told her that when a person reaches their mental limit, they can collapse under the burden of their heart. That person pointed to a mental health book and told her that once someone is afflicted, they might end their own life or suddenly become gentle, as if they were a different person. Bianca thinks of that person's warning. Those are extremely dangerous moments. Those signs are a precursor to the end, Bianca. If someone close to you is in that situation, hold on to your crush's hand and follow the advice, stay by their side. Bianca reassures it'll be all right. I know you can get through this, crush. You just need to control your emotions without relying on the curse. Are you feeling shy? Bianca seems to have misunderstood something here. She suddenly becomes unusually gentle. From now on, I'll visit you often. If my father permits, I might even move closer to live here. Closer to you. Your crush feels confused. Why are you suddenly saying that? Wait, don't you hate me? You don't really want this engagement, do you? Bianca replies. Even so, I can't abandon someone standing on the edge of difficulty. You're wondering why she doesn't deny it. Looking into her eyes, I think I understand Bianca. Once she decides on something, she dives right in. But I feel like she's misunderstanding the seriousness of this situation. You're considering whether you can lift the curse or secretly activate a skill, and just then you quickly cast the Black Hood skill over Bianca. You feel the energy building up in your hands, and you see a lock forming, allowing you to unlock the system's conditions to become Bianca's friend. Grass is intrigued thinking about the double lock. It's really complicated since this is a curse she's carried since birth, so it's considered part of her body and has been valued even though curses don't usually create locks. You look at her indifferent expression and sigh about this situation. It's even harder than becoming her fiancé. Bianca shows no emotions, so she rarely seems interested in anything. You think, however, if you could bring her back to head and heart, it would just make the time she turns into the white demon come faster. I'll keep Bianca close and wait for the chance to unlock her. If I can stop her from turning into the white demon and take the snow doll, it would be a win-win. You hold Bianca's hand and pretend to say, that makes me really happy. I'm so grateful to see my fiancé so often. She promised that she would check with father and come back. Goodbye for now, see you soon. Your crush watches as you think it'll be a month before she returns here. So I'll take the chance to read as many magic books as possible. Everything is about to get busy. The next morning at the Green Pie Mansion, the familiar carriage arrives, unloading wooden crates with a loud thud. Welcome, sir. Your crush steps out with a line. From today, I'll be living at the Green Pie Mansion. I hope you'll take care of me. You're shocked inside. Does she plan to live here with me? Your crush opens her eyes and the first thing you see is Bianca's pale face peacefully asleep. You quickly sit up. Bianca, are you sleeping here again? You scratch your head and yawn. If someone sees us like this, they might misunderstand. She's just woken up looking at you dreamily. Good morning, sir. But why are you here? Your crush hears her ask that and gets angry. I should be the one asking that. After waking up, Bianca sits in meditation to enhance her strength. Sweat dripping all over her. You think back. It's been months since you started living with Bianca. You recall when she stood in front of you and said she would live with you? At that moment, your crush was incredibly surprised, eyes wide open, showing clear astonishment on your face. She's really moved in. Bianca quickly replies, yes, there's no obstacle at all. My family agreed immediately. Your crush feels a bit worried, thinking, is she okay being away from home like this? But she's only 12 years old, right? Maybe because Bianca has no emotions, her bond with her family is weak, and she doesn't really understand those feelings. Well, maybe that's for the best. Because I want to be friends with her. Your crush sees Bianca trailing behind you like a mother hen with her chick. You're still sitting training your strength, holding a long black sword. This happened in summer, and now it's winter. This year is almost over. That means the opening day of the Lahenna Academy is coming soon. The Lahenna Academy was established through cooperation between the 4 major kingdoms and the Empire to train talents. It can counteract the world's decay, only accepting students aged 15 to 20. Before you return to the past, this place has trained countless members of Generation A. Many of them even possess high-level skills. The more you think about it, the angrier you get. You grit your teeth because of those bastards. You know their weakness is better than anyone else. I can easily seize their skills once I enroll in the academy. I'll gradually steal from each of them. In a year, you'll be 14, so you have about a year to prepare. I can easily take their skills once I enroll in the academy. I'll gradually steal from each of them. In a year, you'll be 14, so you have about a year to prepare. Crush needs to become stronger before that time, but your talent has started to hit its limits. Crash slowly raised the pitch-black sword while gritting his teeth at these magic books. He could only bring himself to the beginner level of a gas expert. To overcome this barrier, I need to seize Bianca's Snowdoll curse as soon as possible and learn how to use the extreme blood merging to crash open the door where I see her sitting in a chair reading. Are you waiting for him again today? Bianca followed him with her book saying, I can't let you be alone. Crash thought as he walked that since summer, Bianca had been sticking to him like a shadow. Wherever he went, she followed. Was she planning to follow him into the bathroom too? Is something going on with her? Crush sighed, running his fingers through his hair, wondering how long it would take for Bianca to actually consider him a friend. Do you want to go out for a little stroll? Suddenly Ares stepped up. Young master, there's an invitation from the Celestial Temple. Upon hearing this, Crush felt a chill. The Celestial Temple was a formal event. It was held annually for the young nobility of the Starren Kingdom, and almost everyone attended except for special cases. This was an opportunity to socialize and build relationships. You're holding the invitation, huh? Now I remember. Thanks for the reminder. Ares' Crush was lost in thought before returning to the past. He had once attended in the Thantung Hall, so his memories of this event were quite hazy. He shifted his gaze away from the invitation. That guy will definitely be there, so I should go to keep my promise to Ares. He won't have an excuse to pull something like last time. Crash handed the invitation to Ariette, letting them know he would attend. Bianca slowly approached and whispered in his ear, I'm going too. Crash immediately understood and conveyed the message to Ariette that Bianca would go with him. Yes, he replied, quickly leaving. Bianca looked at him. Crash, the attendees of the Celestial Temple, would surely only criticize that day. He placed his hands on his hips. Yeah, but who knows what they'll say about you? Maybe it's better if you don't go. Bianca's face was determined as she placed her hand on her chest. No, I will go with you. Crash said, after all, protecting your fiancé is the duty of a fiancé. Saying that, he gently placed his hand on Bianca's head. I'm not asking as your fiancé. I just want to hear your true feelings, Bianca. She stared at him slowly, thinking to herself about that pitying look again. Over the past few months, Crush had treated her kindly in a way that was hard to understand. He cared asking Bianca what she wanted for breakfast, and sometimes he held her hand. Let's pick the next book together in the library. When they were in the garden, Crush covered her with a blanket while she was sleeping. Don't worry, I won't go anywhere. You just sleep a bit more. Bianca drowsily opened her eyes, feeling so warm. In the Hayden family, no one had ever been this gentle with her. At that moment, Bianca was sitting quietly under the tree watching Crush practice swordsmanship. He was so kind that she almost forgot their terrible first meeting, which is why she no longer hated Crush. Bianca still wore a determined expression. I will go with you not as your fiancé, but as myself. That's how I truly feel. When Crush saw her like that, he was a bit surprised. His cheeks flushed and a satisfied smile crept onto his lips. I get it now. They rode in a carriage during the warm and peaceful sunset. The sun shone gently, and the atmosphere was incredibly pleasant. Crush looked out the window. So this is Gararu? Huh. It really is the most famous place in the area. They even rented the whole venue. Just how wealthy are they? It's no wonder the nobility in this world is revered. They look down on commoners. Fighting against the erosion of the world, yet those fools don't even bother to train, only knowing how to party all night. And they're called the future of Starren. Crash and Bianca stepped into the sanctuary together. He looked around, wondering how many decent people were left in that sparkling sanctuary. An announcement rang out. Lord Crash Van Hem and Miss Bianca Hayden have arrived. When people saw the two appear, whispers began to circulate. Isn't that the failed son of the Van Hem family? And there's even the girl cursed by the powerful northern clan. What a match made in heaven. Rumor has it those two are already engaged. Don't stare like that. If you don't want to be cursed, don't get close to her. Crush glanced at the crowd and thought to himself, surrounded by these deceitful nobles. Balak chuckled. Van Hem looks like an interesting character has shown up. Crush looked toward the source of the voice, but there were still genuine nobles here. Those who would later join the Aura generation, Balak Hopma, the wicked teenager, Emilia, and the wooden bow, Anix Razor. These three would later be known as the Starren Trio. To avoid further trouble, he quickly turned away. Those three are paying attention to me now. Must be because of my appearance. He thought about what she said. Listen, Crush, that day I wore a dress like this. People kept rushing over to chat, but no one could match me in a one-on-one duel. The sanctuary, I'd rather call it a trash sanctuary. Zakloth looked at Crush, who was curled up in a blanket, scared and bored. I swear I won't set foot there again. Zakloth used to brag like that. Crush was a bit speechless. Just by the atmosphere here, he knew she had caused a ruckus. Suddenly, Bianca gently tugged at his sleeve. Lord Crush, don't pay attention to what others say. Crush held her close. I'm just thinking about Zakloth. He thought, how can she not take offense? And yet she's worried about me. Crush patted Bianca's head. I don't care at all. Crush turned his head, scanning the area. When will he show up? Don't tell me he's not coming. Another announcement rang out. Lord Darling Danferline has arrived. Crush silently sighed. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear the most eccentric one among the nobles. Delin smiled and winked at everyone. Hello, everyone. The alchemist Dean Delin Danfelion, a voice exclaimed. Oh my, you're covered in curses. What on earth has made you so miserable? Two tiny hands reached up. The little blonde boy patted Crush's face. With a corrosive curse like that, if you combine this and that it might work, sounds feasible. He excitedly asked, are you interested in being my test subject? I'll heal you. Crush didn't have a chance to say a word. The boy continued, aren't you going to respond? His face was filled with delight. Well, I'll just start without permission then. His face was filled with excitement, so I guess I'll just go ahead and start. The gaze of my crush suddenly widened as it fell on Darling's petite face, causing him to panic and stop. He angrily scolded, are you crazy? Stay away from me. He is the lord of the fake alchemy castle, Darling Danferian. That was the first time I met someone who would later. Dubbed the greatest fake alchemist in the world, Darling happily ran to the party greeting everyone. People were buzzing saying, Lord Delin looks amazing today. Is that weird, Delin? He deliberately came late to draw attention, didn't he? Seeing that, my crush sighed in frustration. Of course, someone who loves to attract attention would show up where all the kids their age gather. Saying that, he turned to call Bianca. Wait for me here, okay? She obediently replied, yes. And then my crush walked over to Darling, making him wonder who he was. I feel like I've seen him somewhere before. My crush stepped forward to introduce himself. I'm Van Hem. Hearing that, Darling seemed to remember. Van Hem, you really look like Saklot. Your eyes are so bright. You must be Saklot's younger brother, right? Do you have something to say to me? Or is it my looks that attract you? My crush spoke in a low voice. Lately, it seems like you've been digging up information about the world's decay, huh? This made Darling stiffen, and my crush's expression turned cunning. I wonder if that will make you more interested in me. Darling chuckled. You're quite the little provocateur. Since you've piqued my curiosity, get ready. Saying that, the two of them reached the door. Please don't enter, Darling said as he led him inside, then asked, so how old are you now? His hand reached for two swords. Crash, he said, I'm 13. But does age really matter? Darling smirked. You look young, but your aura is completely different. In his mind, Crash sighed. Well, inside I'm an adult who has graduated from the academy. But outwardly, he replied, I don't have much time. If possible, I'd like to get straight to the point. Darling happily agreed. Go ahead. He tossed the sword to Crash. Here, catch. Suddenly my crush's eyes widened in shock. You quickly caught the sword. Darling was attacking. My crush was confused. What the hell are you doing? Darling. Danferian laughed. It's my first time meeting Saklot's younger brother, so I just wanted to test your skills. Just that. My crush felt annoyed, thinking, what a troublesome guy. He pushed Darling forward. Aren't you the one who said you had something to discuss? I'm listening. Go ahead. You can both defend and respond at the same time, right? Hearing all that, my crush forcefully knocked Darling's sword away. Darling was a bit surprised. Aren't you supposed to be considered a failure? Don't you have any skills? My crush tried to fight back, though on the outside he seemed calm. But I practice every day. Should I use my secret techniques to deal with an alchemist? Or should I just shock him a bit? Thinking that he spoke in a deep voice, I can help you with the research on how to neutralize curses. This statement left Darling astonished. What, he became angry? What do you know about alchemy to dare say you'll cooperate with me? My crush's gaze became focused. You spun around to face me, Darling, who raised his sword high with a look of disdain, quickly countering with an explanation. Research to nullify the curse that the wizards couldn't break yet, using another curse to become a top-notch alchemist. You have to prove that research is valid, right? Darling let out a sigh of relief, promising, I'll help you with your research. As he reached out his hand, showcasing my curse-stealing skill, leaving Darling stunned. Isn't he supposed to be the useless failure? For a moment, he smiled in compromise. If what Crush said was true, this was indeed a perfect opportunity to aid in nullifying his curse. Darling raised his hand to his chest, asking, what should I do to repay you? He teased, like being my boyfriend or something. And Crush, feeling powerless, shouted, what the hell are you talking about? I want to collect many curses in the future. I want you to create a potion to alleviate those curses. Darling chuckled, brewing potions is my specialty. Crush thought to himself, if all he had was the skill to steal, it wouldn't be enough. Even those with extraordinary skills couldn't stop the destruction. Crush felt inferior. A failure like him had to use every means possible, whether it was medicine or anything else, witnessing Darling's expression of awe. I heard he lost motivation from constantly being compared to Saklot, but it seems that's not the case. A dominating genius and a destroyed failure. Both sisters thought of this, and Darling couldn't help but tremble with excitement, asking, can I ask you something? Crush replied. What is it, my darling asked. Are you planning to attend the soon-to-be-established Rahan Academy? Hearing this, Crush smirked. Of course I am. This made Darling even more excited. There would be a ton of skills for him to steal at the academy. He waved his hand and cheered. Then it's settled. I'll do anything brewing potions or anything related to curses. I'm always in. Of course, the position for me is also open, right? Crush was at a loss for words. This guy hadn't changed at all before or after it was the same. Did you remember something? But besides that, I want to ask one more thing. Crush questioned. You know about the color-changing disease, right? Darling explained, it's a terminal illness that turns the skin blue-black and ultimately leads to death. And Crush ordered, make a cure for that disease. This made him freeze up, and Darling quickly defended, you don't know what a terminal illness means. Even for me, that's impossible. Crush admitted feeling uneasy. Still, you'll complete it later on. That was a story from a distant future. Crush sighed in frustration and reached out his hand, encouraging, you can do it. Darling smiled sheepishly. Hearing you say that touches my pride. Then the two of them high-fived, and Crush reminded him, when the potion is done, remember to contact Tantong. Darling agreed, I'll personally deliver it to you. But suddenly, Crush's expression darkened. Oh, but there's something I've been curious about for a while. He asked directly, you like my sister, don't you? Darling joyfully exclaimed, I love sackcloth so much. Seeing this, Crush was confused. But just a moment ago, you said the spot next to you was still empty, and mentioned something about a boyfriend. Darling played dumb. What are you talking about, Crush? You're still young, so maybe you don't understand. I like boys too. I can love both guys and girls. This direct statement made Crush shiver, and he ran far away, but I didn't. I called out to Lin, hey, wait! My future lover. When Crush returned to the main hall, he was still whispering, so it turns out he's that kind of person. Right at that moment, up ahead, a crowd was noisy, watching something. Crush's face suddenly darkened as he saw a man holding Bianca's hand tightly, her arm turning red from the grip. Bianca softly called out, sir, and immediately Crush appeared ready to strike. The man was sent flying. As he sat up, holding his head in pain, Crush stood in front of him, his voice icy. You dare to force my fiancée to kiss, what do you want? The beaten man, terrified, asked, force? Crush frowned in anger. You're trying to touch a 12-year-old child. Veins bulged on his forehead as he stepped closer. Is that your twisted preference, you trash? The man, scared, tried to explain. That's not it. I'm just following the orders of the two princesses. Crush was taken aback. The orders of the two princesses. He looked down and mentioned a name, Claudia Stalin. Upon hearing this name, the man replied, that's right. The two princesses ordered me to bring Miss Bianca to meet her, but Miss Bianca refused. Even though I didn't want to drag her like that, it was a royal command. I had no choice. Crush glanced at Bianca, who was rubbing her wrist. Bianca, she's the youngest daughter of the Hayden family, a princess of the north, but because of that curse, her reputation among the nobility was very low. He couldn't help but wonder why a princess, someone to be admired, would disregard her like that. He placed his hand on his chin, thinking something was off. Crush pondered if there was some other connection, and suddenly Anix's image flashed in his mind. He clenched his fists in anger. Anix, he thought to himself. My sister used to cling to her persistently. He recalled that after Anix was defeated at the Celestial Sanctuary, despite hating Sackcloth, she still couldn't give up her admiration. In the end, she became twisted. He pieced together all the events that had occurred. Unable to defeat Sackcloth with her strength, she began to shift her target to him. The younger brother of Sackcloth, Crush understood everything and let out a breath, his whole being radiating killing intent. And now you're dragging Bianca into this. Fine, I'll comply. I'll go. The man was surprised, and Crush continued, but instead of meeting the two princesses, I'll meet Anix. He was astonished. Sir, Anix, why? Crush pulled Bianca along coldly, replying, even if you serve the princesses, I don't know who ordered you. Do they have anything to do with this? Honestly, you've picked up your master's bad habits. He held Bianca's hand. Let's go. Bianca gently replied, yes, Sir Crush. The two held hands, walking through the palace corridor. Crush glanced at her a bit curious. By the way, Bianca, why did you refuse to meet her? He thought he could guess the culprit since he had been through this before. But he was very surprised when Bianca refused the princess's invitation. At 12, she shouldn't have been able to grasp the situation, so why was she ignoring the princess's order now? Crush turned to call Bianca. Hey. She softly replied, yes. He questioned, why didn't you follow the princess's order? Bianca looked down and said, because you told me to wait, Sir Crush. Hearing her words, he was astonished. Crush smiled, softly pleased, and reached out to pat Bianca's head, praising her. Well done. The two headed to Anix's office. Black Hood saw him and exclaimed, oh, you really came. Black Hood saw him and exclaimed, oh, wow, you're really here. The cold Crush replied that I came to meet Anix, and he smiled, pointing inside the room, saying, that's right, Anix said to let you in as soon as you got here. You frowned, thinking this was Black Hood feeling suspicious at that moment. I thought he was a skilled dual-wielding swordsman, wondering where everything started to go wrong when the Crush reached for the door, but luckily Anix ordered help and Black Hood behind him spoke. Then let's do it this way. He leaned in close to you, suggesting, I'm curious about you, Crush. How about we have a match? Crush sighed inwardly, realizing it had come to this. You refused, saying fighting was forbidden in the sacred place. He rushed forward, replying, but I've already fought with Sackcloth, so it shouldn't be a problem for you, right? You thought to yourself that you were weaker than Sackcloth, glancing sideways, recalling that you heard he had lasted longer against Sackcloth than Abara's Crash observing him, and silently evaluating. Although both were masters, Abraham was slightly superior, but his fighting instincts were so unpredictable that opponents couldn't anticipate his next move. You frowned slightly, wanting to avoid fighting this guy before meeting Anix. When you looked into Black Hood's eyes, you thought, but it seemed he wouldn't easily give up. Crush clenched his fist, replying, all right then. After receiving your agreement, he immediately launched an attack towards you. In the next moment, you countered easily, flipping to dodge his strike. Crush stepped back slightly, then jumped straight at Blackhood, his gaze icy as he struck towards him, delivering a powerful punch to his stomach, a single hit. After the punch landed, he doubled over in pain and the fight ended. You let out a breath and Blackhood, holding his stomach, reproached, "You're really ruthless." Crush rubbed his neck, replying, "You were the one who challenged me first." He extended his hand, saying, "Yeah, but wait, can I go get my weapon first?" You were surprised, asking, "Weapon?" Crush coldly replied, "What's more important is whether you can still stand." Blackhood smiled, but blood started to trickle from his nose, and moments later he fainted. You were a bit surprised to see him collapse. Bianca curiously asked, "Crush, what did you do to him?" Crush coldly replied, "I used the family secret technique of the Van Hem clan, recalling the 1-inch punch from the past. A failure of the Van Hem clan created this move. This is a technique that maximizes damage over the shortest distance. You thought to yourself before returning to the past, this was the only move that saved me when Tantung's house was burning. Thanks to this 1-inch punch, I survived countless life and death situations." Back in the present, Crush looked at his hand and continued, "I used my strongest move, so he surely won't be getting up for a while." You looked at Blackhood, who was unconscious on the floor, saying, "Let's get him inside." Bianca replied, "Yes, Sir Crush." And the two of them pushed the door open. In front of them were Anix and a woman. When she saw Blackhood lying on the ground, she ran towards him. Anix spoke mockingly, "It's really funny that you actually defeated Blackhood." Crush sighed, replying, "Anyway, you exploited the second princess just to lure me here. You pointed behind you coldly, saying, 'Aren't you just waiting here for that reason?' Now we've arrived." He chuckled, rubbing his chin, wondering how you figured it out. "It's strange. You're different from what I've heard. Maybe the rumors are false. Your voice is so cold, and you're the one spreading the rumors that I'm a failure, right? You rubbed your shoulder, but if you lose to me today, you smiled. The rumors will change a bit from now on." Crush unleashed a technique, his voice close, saying, "I'm going to steal your skills." You crossed your arms, your tone dripping with sarcasm. "If the rumors say I'm a failure, then that's the truth. But if you get defeated by me today, those rumors might change a little, huh?" Anix bent down silent, not saying anything, while Crush observed him closely. You recalled images from the future. You were an old friend of mine. You thought to yourself that having been together for so long, you understood him very well. You asked, running away without a plan. For instance, the real reason you're only friends with me is that I'm useful to you. Crush told himself about that usefulness. A wave of bitterness rose in your heart. It was the worst reason for you to betray me. At the edge, you gripped the rocky ledge, looking down and cursing under your breath. "Damn it. Everyone has been taken down, huh?" You called out to Anix. "Are you there? Help me." Anix, standing above, spoke coldly. "If they find out it's my fault for falling into the trap, I'll definitely lose my position in this generation." "Right?" He continued, "But if I survive alone, no one will know about this." Crash shouted angrily, "You think it's that easy? The internal conflict has already been brutal enough. You'll definitely be kicked out because of this." He then flashed a cunning smile and Anix laughed. "It's fine, I'll put all the blame on you." He was quite pleased because everyone around you despised you. "So they'll believe me, and the truth of this matter will be buried." He smiled. "Thanks, Crush, for being my friend until the end." Crush's eyes widened in shock. "Friend," you angrily questioned, "don't joke with me. Have you ever considered me a friend?" You glared at Anix with anger. "You've only been by my side from the start because you were after the shell. And today you've been dazed all day just because the shell is about to get married. That's why we ended up in this situation. Right, Anix?" He grimaced. "That's exactly why I hate you." His face was filled with disdain. "You have no talent, but your instincts are sharp, and you always try to harm me. That part is your fault." He turned and walked away. "Since the shell is about to get married, this relationship ends here." Anix rubbed his chin. "Ah, but maybe this is for the best, right?" He laughed with delight. "Scarlet probably wouldn't want to hold a funeral at the same time as a wedding." Crush, hearing his words, got furious, cursing, "What garbage." You couldn't hold on any longer and felt your strength giving out. You mocked yourself. "Is this how I end up?" At that moment, he tightly grasped your hand and asked if you were okay. When his crush thought about it, Arthur had saved him back then simply because they were on the same team, even though that was just the beginning of a new tragedy. He glanced at Anix and thought to himself, well, anyway, after Anix was expelled from the generation because of his testimony, I was furious when he tried to marry the princess out of desperation. But what about now? Anix laughed, teasing his crush, saying that your face and way of speaking were very much like a certain someone. Hearing that you got angry and gritted your teeth, this guy hadn't changed at all. Chris clenched his fists, his voice filled with anger. Don't call her name so casually. You think she and I are the same. You immediately launched an attack saying, that's right, just like her. I'm the kind of person who never backs down from a fight, Anix said calmly as you charged at him. You threw a punch, but it was blocked by a branch. Crush pressed his hand against the branch and spun in midair. Then he kicked off it, but suddenly another branch reached out and wrapped tightly around his leg. It pulled him up into the air and quickly brought him back to Bianca's location. Crush landed on the ground, thinking to himself, this is really annoying. Anix looked at you and mocked, is that all you've got? You'd better use a weapon. The Glyzer family's secret technique, the earth-shattering wood technique, is a special technique that uses aura to enhance plants and control them at will by using recovery skills to reproduce. Plants can compensate for the limitations of this technique. When Crush raised his hand to summon his weapon, he said, you want me to use a weapon? All right then, I'll use your own wood to fight you. A vein popped on his forehead as he asked, really? He controlled the spear to fly towards Crush, saying, "Then try to block this with that branch." You quickly dodged Anix's attacks. He was astonished to see you evade them. He dodged. Your eyes were filled with determination as you looked at him. You smiled and said, "To me, you're nothing more than a natural enemy." You thought to yourself, "I can see through your abilities. It's exhausting." Then you charged at him, calling out his name, "Anix." Crash growled, "Are you thinking about her again?" Anix let out a slight grunt, coldly replying, "That's because I'm quietly listening." He raised his hand to summon a tree monster, and you felt its pressure pushing you back. He growled threateningly, "You should be careful with your words, Crash." Earth-shattering wood technique, 5th move. Anix raised his hand to execute the earth-shattering wood giant technique, smiling wickedly. "From now on, be careful." Suddenly Mary burst in through the door, shouting, "Mr. Anix, you can't do that." Your gaze turned icy. If that attack hit directly, Crash would be in trouble, as the giant swung its attack towards you. The consequences would be irreversible. Crash closed his eyes briefly. Among the books in the secret library of the Thantung estate, there was a thin manual written by an ancestor. He had swung his sword continuously until the age of 80, without any talent, just a man repeating mundane training strikes every day. He wanted to write the manual in his final years, which was very brief. It only recorded his training strikes. However, due to the curse, I had also been pushed into similar situations countless times. So I thought to myself, I understand the family technique. The legacy of my ancestors. In my heart, I quietly recited, "The sword is me." I transformed into the sword, raising my staff high, and then I struck down hard on the giant. In my heart, I thought, as long as I see this as a sword, that's a very simple truth. The giant was cleaved in half by Crush's strike. Mary watched this scene in shock. Anix couldn't hide his astonishment either, and amidst the smoke, Crash spoke up. "Don't throw the stick on the ground and never act arrogant again. Do you understand? Your Crush feels frustrated with himself. Damn it. He messed up the plan. He had set, intending to conserve energy to easily steal skills, but he put everything into one strike. So now he can't move at all, which is exhausting his Crush. He can't even catch his breath anymore." Bianca approached him and suggested, "Let me help you, sir." Duanlin saw Bianca's way of helping and immediately intervened, saying, "If it goes on like this, your Crush will die. Just let me take care of it." Bianca also handed over the Crush to him, asking for his help. The people present there were buzzing with chatter. "What's going on? That loser actually won against Anix. No way. The useless youngest child of the Vanhem family, huh?" Duanlin had to admire their sensitivity to news. Wow, rumors spread fast. He looked at his Crush scratched and thought, "I can't believe this spread so quickly. Surely when he wakes up, this kid will be a star." But Duanlin noticed something strange. This house, he was concerned about that face. Anix's expression earlier made him feel uneasy. Duanlin mumbled to himself, "I have a feeling something bad is about to happen." He told his Crush, "Even if you're an unconscious kid, you can't die until you cooperate with my research." "Got it. Right now, your Crush is training. A week has passed since returning from the sacred place, and he can finally feel a bit at ease. Finally, I have recovered from that fight. Crash recalled the battle back then. If I had kept pushing him to the limit, I might have been worse off than Anix." He collapsed right on Bianca's lap, and I passed out on the carriage. Crash felt a bit regretful, wishing he hadn't fainted at that moment. At least I was ready to steal his skills. As Crash sank into his thoughts, he realized he had 2 ways to steal skills. One is the conventional method using a black hat. The second is to make the opponent underestimate their own skills. With Anis, I planned to use the second method. This approach would be easier if you could completely overpower your opponent. Since the Earthwood Giant was taken down with just 1 blow, Anis's doubts about that skill would definitely spread. Crash's skills have many conditions for use. If he's defeated by a loser he looks down on, he will start to doubt the value of his own skills. Chris confidently asserted, even if it takes some time. But Anix's recovery skill will eventually belong to me. I set a plan for myself. So in the remaining year before entering the academy, I want to dedicate each day to training to surpass those geniuses. But then Arios entered respectfully young Master Crash. He informed Crash, "Sir Bilokin has arrived at Thantung Pavilion." Crash smiled and replied, "Looks like Bilokin has lost his patience, huh?" Ariod added, "I've rejected his messages 22 times already. No more delays." Crash grumbled and accepted, "Invite him in." He quickly complied. Following orders, Bianca brought a glass of water to Crash. "Sir, drink some water?" He accepted the glass. "Thanks." Noticing her slightly avoiding him, Crash asked, "Is something wrong?" Bianca honestly replied, "You're all sweaty." Crash didn't notice and realized, really. He quickly lifted his shirt to smell. It must be the waste released when using aura. But he couldn't sense anything. Crash wondered, "Is it because my nose is numb from being used to the smell?" Bianca suddenly asked, "Did you not shower before meeting Sir Bilokin?" Crash denied that. "Well, I guess I have to exercise some more." Hearing that, Bianca backed away from you, saying not to come near her. Your Crush was surprised by her words. "Huh, you dared to give orders to your fiancé. You felt a bit resentful and said, 'Bianca, you've really grown up, huh?' Your Crush pretended to scare Bianca, asking where she thought she could run to. Seeing her frightened, your Crush laughed joyfully. In their heart, they always valued Bianca like a little sister. "So I just can't help but tease her. You suddenly thought about something else, those people you knew before going back to the past." Your Crush was completely sure they were looking at you with a cold gaze. In your head, Arthur's voice echoed, Have you become weak because of this peaceful life? Yet, do you think you can stop the world from falling apart? Hearing that your crush froze. Arthur, as your crush sank deep into thought, hated to admit it, but except for the last moment, he was always a pioneering hero, never letting his guard down. Your crush also wondered about him. Where was he now, and what was he doing? Bilokin's voice cut in. He's flirting with your fiancé. His face was filled with anger. He seemed to be enjoying this too much. Huh. Bilokin Van Hem, the third son of the Van Hem family, wouldn't back down and replied, everyone needs to relax. In Bilokin's mind, he viewed your crush differently now. The one who used to be so scared of him that he couldn't even look him in the eye was now staring at him boldly. He began to speculate. Was the rumor that he defeated Anix true? Your crush approached to check in. Oh, but you're so busy, yet you still have time to come to Tantung. He repeated in confusion, busy. You tell me what you know. I heard the Jaren Academy is recruiting students through exams regardless of status. Your crush smiled brightly, reminding him, you should prepare too. Bilokin felt a discomfort running through his body. This guy was provoking him. In his thoughts, he didn't think he was inferior to anyone. Not even the mightiest empire would look down on the Van Hem family. They wouldn't dare attack the Starian kingdom. The Van Hem family stood on a completely different level compared to other families, and he was a genuine member of Van Hem. Moreover, he belonged to the direct lineage. Bilokin felt disdain, thinking, how dare he tell me to prepare for the academy's exam? Don't get cocky. Just because he defeated someone like Anix, right? He forced a smile. You're joking. Bilokin replied with a hint of sarcasm. Well, it's understandable. For losers like you, worrying about passing or failing the academy is natural. But you didn't seem to care. That must be it, huh? Looking at you like that only made Bilokin angrier. What kind of attitude was that? He calmed himself down. Actually, I came here today to announce a command. Your crush interrupted unexpectedly. Bilokin continued, we will stop the world's erosion happening at Gorilla Mountain. Your crush didn't believe it and retorted, come on. The family mission doesn't require those under 15 to participate. Bilokin assured with his mouth, but his eyes were anything but friendly. Don't worry, I'll go with you as your guardian. My younger brother, the one rumored to have defeated Anix, surely won't be scared of something so trivial, right? He was just testing his strength and holding back. Afraid of something so trivial, he's just testing his strength and holding back. My crush didn't hesitate to agree. If we can go, then let's go. Inside, my crush felt no hesitation. He was more accustomed to the harsh world than to this peaceful life. Whether this is a trap set by Bilokin or not, I already have a plan to deal with it. Bianca leaned in and asked my crush, where are you going? My crush summarized, I'll be away for a while to handle the decay. Don't follow me. Do you want to go with me, or can I not go along? Bianca bluntly pointed out, a 13-year-old has to go stop the decay. That sounds ridiculous. Bilokin was furious at being rebutted by this cursed princess. My crush defended her. She's my fiancée. Surely a noble guy like you wouldn't take the words of a 12-year-old seriously. Seeing Bilokin leave, clutching his stomach in anger, my crush patted Bianca's head, praising her. Well done, Bianca. She shyly replied, I didn't do anything, but he insisted it was because she didn't recognize it. She seriously advised my crush, please don't collapse again. My crush turned away, victorious, saying, yeah, I'm off. The changes in the world are somewhat related to the decay. The decay world is a phenomenon. When our world is eroded by another world, sometimes decaying creatures will appear, or the environment will change abnormally. And if the decay progresses further, it could turn that area completely into another world. Bilokin and my crush were already there, so a swamp had formed on Mount Gerilak. He asked for information. It was rated as a level 3 decay. Did the purging team say anything? The person next to him replied, they said they would start the job as soon as the master is eliminated. Hearing that, my crush assessed the mission as level 3. This is a level that a mid-tier professional knight team can easily handle. You have to admit, Bilokin looks like that, but he's a high-level professional. He can definitely defeat the master of this decay area. Bilokin approached my crush, who quickly replied, yeah, he has that superior tone, as if blessing me. I brought you here to give you a beginner's experience to accumulate. Crush played along with Bilokin. Okay, brother. But inside, he had already looked down on him. Experience? Who does he think he's talking to? You came here for your own reasons. The only reason I'm following you, the one trying to impose on me, is for one thing that I've wanted to do for a long time. To test a temporary method for my frenzy. The people in the team were panting exhausted. Damn, at this rate, we'll never get rid of it. Hey, look. Crash kindly reminded, this monster has no head but is full of teeth. If it bites you, the wound will swell. So remember to wrap your whole body in aura. Thử nghiệm phương pháp tạm thời. Cho cơn cuồng loạn của tôi, những người trong đời đều thở dốc mệt mỏi. Chết tiệt cụ thể này thì không bao giờ diệt hết được mất. Này nhìn kia, Crash tốt bụng. Nhắc nhở con quái vật này không có đau, nhưng lại mọc đầy răng. Nếu bị nó cắn vết thương sẽ sưng phồng lên, nên hãy nhớ bao bọc toàn thân bằng aura đó. They immediately obeyed, yes sir. One person in the group admired and expressed, have you ever experienced the phenomenon of world erosion, Crush? Ah, Crush. He waved his hand dismissively. I'm only 13. If I ever had the chance to approach an eroded area, wouldn't that be too strange? That person nodded, but Bilokin felt uncomfortable seeing Crush so calm. Why was a failure like him so composed in an eroded area, especially since it was only their first time there? He recalled his past the first time he came here at 15, and as a result, his pride was completely crushed by jealousy towards his crush. Surrounded by everyone, how could he remain calm enough to give advice to the knights? Completely different from the first time his crush looked up with a provocative gaze, and he gritted his teeth in jealousy before turning away. Bilokin speculated a lot. This was just a hypothesis. He felt a sense of fear that if his crush matured like a predator and surpassed him, Bilokin panicked at that future. Am I destined to be the failure of Van Hem? Crush approached him. Hey bro, just a reminder, we're almost at the master's place. Bilokin calmed himself and immediately denied his abilities. You're lucky. This time seems easier than my first. It looks like there are no more lingering creatures. Except for the master here. Crash replied seriously. That's even more reason to stay on high alert. He emphasized the level of danger, meaning the master is a third-tier threat. It's strong enough to maintain the erosion zone alone, Bilokin shouted to the others. Don't let yourselves be shaken. It's just the words of a child. He said loudly, reassuringly, this place is only third tier. Handle it quickly and let's go. Everyone agreed. Yes, sir. Crush sighed at the situation. They'll realize it themselves. Just focus on your own tasks. I should concentrate on what I need to do. Crush keenly sensed that he could feel it already. The energy of the erosion world in his heart assessed even clearer than before. He turned back time thanks to the poison that had seeped into his blood. He took out an object. Now he just needed to swallow it. Crush immediately felt his heart racing as the moment to act arrived. His eyes widened in shock, and in the next moment, he coughed up blood. Everyone rushed over. Sir, Crush, are you okay? Crush quickly reassured them. Yeah, I just stumbled. Bilokin suggested, for the first time, don't push too hard. I'll carry you. Crush immediately refused. No need. It's a bit exhausting to cough out blood. He quickly understood. The energy of the erosion is like a type of extreme poison. So being like this is understandable. He resolved to do it, but he had no choice but to endure it. Isn't this the reason he trained with extreme poison, to let it seep into his blood? Focus your mind first according to the extreme poison technique that seeps into the blood. Try mixing aura with the erosion energy. The aura will circulate endlessly. Crush pondered to himself. If the flow of aura is like a big river absorbing the erosion energy, it will eventually merge with that river, creating a new color that cannot be overshadowed. This is the consequence of the frenzy. He quickly realized that normally he couldn't endure it. Crush seized the opportunity. It was time to use that technique. Old stories resurfaced after Demalis Van Hem disappeared. Tantong was closed off and seemed to sink into oblivion, with unclear images appearing. But one day a blind ancestor discovered the secret storage. Unfortunately, because he was blind, he couldn't read the techniques and the swirling tales continued. From then on, they had no choice but to lock the storage room forever. But to prevent anyone from repeating the tragedy, that man wrote a farewell note and decided to leave behind a secret manual. And finally, he created a legendary item. The name of that secret manual is, within the body of his crush, a superhuman sense has changed, allowing him to perceive every vibration through aura. His sixth sense can feel very well, but for now, he can only expand his range. He can sense about a fingertip's distance, but even that is enough to recognize his position. He smiled confidently, standing there, not in a world engulfed in chaos. He was panting, exhausted, the frenzy was fading, and he had overcome it by following the manual. The sixth sense quickly recognized that, of course, this is just a temporary solution. If he absorbs energy, the chaotic world could strike at any moment, and he contemplated the future. Clearly, at that moment, he would still need Bianca's Snowdoll curse. He was excited, but even though this was just a patchwork solution, it couldn't be denied that he had gained control, thanks to it. He was happy because it was the first time he could step up to a new height. Suddenly, he thought, I can't. Just as the class turned around, a monster appeared. It was resting with its eyes closed, and the next moment, its bright red eyes opened wide, leaving everyone astonished by its figure. Everyone screamed, it's the master monster. It opened its mouth in a disgusting manner, leaving Bilokin stunned by the sight. The class was no exception. Everyone recognized the Senganki, the thousand-faced demon, and all raised their guard, preparing to fight as Bilokin tightened his grip on the sword's hilt. He commanded, and the surrounding space felt suffocated. All sounds gradually faded, and the sword in his hand emitted a blue light suddenly from the tip. A bright red light erupted violently, flames quickly engulfing the entire blade. Witnessing that scene, his crush couldn't help but be stunned by the ignis flames of the Lord. Bilokin always amazed people. A soldier couldn't hide his admiration, and not only that, its destructive power was truly terrifying. After all, it was a top-tier skill that could incinerate everything in front of him. He pressed his lips tightly, and a single name echoed in his mind. Exini's old memories suddenly flooded back. It was the skill that had burned his arm before. Now, do you see the difference between us? I don't have time to waste on trash like you, he called out to Bilokin from behind. The fierce image of him from before vividly appeared in his mind. Before the time reversal, you were completely insane. But now, Bilokin's whole body shone with a blinding red light. But what about now? In the palm of his crush's hand appeared a bizarre, smiling mouth. I hope you won't change at all. In the blink of an eye, the face of a soldier was stripped away. Annex, who was fighting, was also stunned. Was that the curse that stole faces? His gaze swept quickly across the battlefield. Even the seniors were struggling against its 8 arms. How could rookies like us avoid it? That curse is right here. Annex tightened his grip on the sword, trembling continuously. If it had come to this, then the only option left is to run. Bilokin's voice thundered as he attacked. His sword tore through the wind, heading straight for the thousand-faced demon at that moment. The thousand-faced demon screamed as if wanting to tear apart the space. Its entire body burned fiercely. He raised his sword high and shouted, "Don't give up! I will carve a path." The knights looked at that scene standing still in shock. Then they all shouted out loud, indeed, it was Lord Bilokin. Even the guard couldn't resist him. "We will follow you, Lord Bilokin." Bilokin turned to look back. "Are you witnessing this scene, Crush?" But he couldn't see the figure he was searching for. He wasn't here. Could it be that he's dead? Hiding behind a rock, Crush was astonished, thinking he was targeting the faceless demon instead of him. His gaze was intensely fixed on the faceless demon, which was writhing in pain. Bilokin suddenly froze a drop of blood. The overlapping faces on the faceless demon's body oozed dark red streaks. He looked straight into its eyes and suddenly realized something was off. Bilokin's eyes widened as he thought if this continued, it would be very dangerous. Without hesitation, he sprang up high, quickly creating distance. He gritted his teeth, looking down. What was this terrifying pressure? Bilokin gripped his sword tightly, forcing himself to focus. He had to concentrate to eliminate the faceless demon right now before any other abnormalities occurred. He commanded loudly, "All knights take down the faceless demon." However, Bilokin quickly noticed something unusual. He had infused aura into his attack, yet it was still ineffective against it. "Knights, hear me. Strike again before it transforms further." Suddenly he halted, stopping all movements, his gaze sweeping over the ranks behind him, angrily shouting, "How can the Knights of Vanhem be afraid of something like this?" But all that responded were bodies standing still like statues. "What on earth are you?" Bilokin's eyes showed clear astonishment, the curse of the faceless demon. But he hadn't even touched it when suddenly a hand tightly grasped his face. "Don't tell me that strange feeling earlier was... Has it caught me?" The faceless demon leaned closer, intently staring at Bilokin. At that moment, thunder roared, rain poured down like a deluge from the sky. He raised a hand to shield his lost eye in panic. He mumbled, "This is bad. This isn't good." Bilokin's legs went stiff, unable to move. He was about to be killed. The ground beneath him turned into a swamp, slowly engulfing his body. At this rate, he would lose his life. It raised its bony hand, thick purple mist emanating from it, the swamp rising high to his neck, causing Bilokin to panic. Why is this happening to me? Thunder ripped through the sky. A horrifying thought flashed in his mind, death. He couldn't believe it, mumbling, "The three strongest of Vanhem are going to die." Because the voice of the faceless demon appeared right next to his ear. In a low voice, "You're such a fool." Her expression showed disappointment. Her younger sister, 3 years younger, surpassed her. After all the boasting, he lost the entire night squad and now ran away to save himself. "You're such an idiot." The faceless demon left the final verdict. "Because you failed miserably, you will die." The faceless demon immediately called out to pursue Bilokin. He raised his hand to block its attack, but all that remained was a scream piercing the wind. At that moment, Crush appeared, grabbing Bilokin's legs, pulling him to escape. He opened his eyes, his voice trembling. "Who are you?" When he clearly saw the face in front of him, Bilokin couldn't help but be astonished. "Crush, why are you here?" He smiled with relief. "You're awake now." Bilokin looked at you with doubt, asking if you were still alive. You quickly replied, "Yeah, I've been watching everything from a distance." You explained when you saw him being swallowed by the swamp after the blow. "I dodged the attack from the thousand-faced demon and immediately pulled him away from it." He struggled to sit up, saying, "All right, I'm okay. I can walk on my own." Bilokin stared at you in surprise, unable to use aura. He squatted down, holding the sword with both hands, asking, "You're sure you don't need to lean on me, right?" He gritted his teeth, enduring the pain, then firmly snatched the sword, saying, "I don't need help from an idiot like you." A loud noise echoed. Bilokin jumped in shock, quickly asking, "Is the thousand-faced demon still nearby? Hey, how far are we from the scene?" You shook your head and stood up, saying, "Who knows?" After thinking for a moment, you continued, "We've been walking for quite a while, but we still haven't escaped. Maybe this world of decay is a closed space." Hearing this, he couldn't help but shiver. Could it be that we won't be able to leave? If we don't defeat the thousand-faced demon... Bilokin lowered his head, cursing under his breath. "Damn it." You called out to him, "Hey, brother." Your voice came out steady. "Actually, I have a secret technique. It's the technique that Cyclos passed on to me." You raised your hand, explaining seriously, "The reason I can face anics in the sacred realm is thanks to this technique." He looked up at you, "The secret technique of Cyclos." Bilokin pondered. Even someone like Cyclos has special feelings for his little brother. Does he really have emotions? He spoke, unable to hide his hesitation. "Do you think we can defeat the thousand-faced demon with that technique?" You firmly replied, "We can." Remembering the scene that just happened, you said, "Instead of avoiding the thousand-faced demon and dying slowly in this decaying area, I think this method is worth a try." You extended your hand in front of Bilokin. "I understand you don't trust me." You tried to persuade him, "But brother, you must trust in her skills, right?" He planted the tip of the sword into the ground, softly replying, "Yeah, after all, Cyclos is a genius." Suddenly Bilokin shouted, "But if we fail, we both die, kid." Chris, standing behind him, replied with a smirk, "Don't worry, I absolutely won't fail." In the rain-soaked forest, the trees swayed violently in the strong wind. Chris looked at Bilokin and lowered his voice. "The demon is approaching." You curiously asked him, "Bilokin, are you ready to use Ignis?" Flames erupted in his hand as he replied, "Yeah." Hearing this, you continued, "Then, let's get started." Your footsteps stopped, both hands gripping the sword held horizontally in front of your chest, your whole body radiating a blue light. Chris slowly closed his eyes while Bilokin watched the scene in awe. His expression showed undeniable astonishment as the streams of light were continuously absorbed by the sword. It was truly an incredible focus. Bilokin's gaze slightly wavered, and the aura surrounding it too. He stared at the sword stunned, realizing he had never seen such a transparent and pure aura before. Then he bowed his head in thought, recalling that it told him to combine the Ignis flame with Saklos' technique. He hadn't believed it, but now he could see it clearly with his own eyes. The aura he couldn't control, despite years of hard training. How could it be used so easily? Your voice broke the silence. Bilokin, you should use Ignis. Bilokin unleashed flames from his palm, finally responding. The fire slowly flowed into your sword, and in that moment, your whole being ignited with a bright red glow. You looked at the blazing sword as if you had discovered something. Crush called out to him, confused, asking if there was a problem. You gently shook your head, saying not to worry. It seemed like you would have enough time. "I don't need your help anymore," Bilokin said, kneeling on the ground. "What?" His eyes widened. Crush's flames were even more intense than his own. The sword in Crush's hand blazed brighter and brighter, and Bilokin thought to himself, that sword. Could it really kill the thousand-faced demon? He pondered, realizing in an instant that he had lost all his subordinates. I was lucky to survive that battle and fled in shame while all the knights perished. Bilokin suddenly thought if Crush could truly defeat the demon with a face like that. Watching Crush charge in alone to fight it, I felt even more like a failure. With a single strike, you split the body of the thousand-faced demon in two. Bilokin stood frozen, his face stiff as the demon was consumed in flames. The sky gradually cleared, the rain stopped, and Crush called out, "Brother." You turned to look at him confidently, saying, "I've dealt with it." Bilokin clenched his jaw in anger. Was it that easy? He lifted his sword, his face twisted in rage. "Then you shall die." The sword lunged forward, but was effortlessly blocked by Crush. Bilokin was stunned, unable to believe what his eyes had just witnessed. His hands trembled around the sword. Why couldn't he use Xnis? You smiled as if you had achieved your goal. Thanks, Bilokin. Crush's face showed a terrifying expression because he hadn't changed at all. Crush recalled memories from the past. The conditions to unlock Bilokin were very simple. First, willingly give a part of Ignis to the opponent. Second, believe that the opponent could master Ignis better than oneself. Seeing Bilokin's fearful expression and finally the collapse of his pride as Crush swung his sword at him, in that moment, Ignis became his. The thousand-faced demon was burned to ashes, peering in the thick smoke. You plunged the tip of your sword into the meat on the ground, calling out to Bilokin, then raised it before him to continue. "I once wanted to get along with you," and everyone Chris recounted stories from childhood, but you often said not to meddle in things that weren't your business. The image of him grimacing, reproaching, "You can't do anything," but you wanted to thank him. His persistent hostility had blocked all my chances. As Crush stuffed the still warm piece of meat into his mouth, Bilokin thought, "Still, I believe just this time you would be able to accept me as a true little brother." You showed no emotion. After all, I still held on to a faint hope that since we were brothers this time, they would acknowledge me. But it turned out you had no such thoughts. His breath was shallow, Crush's tone cold. "It hurts, doesn't it?" Each word you recounted was like a reminder of the past when he burned my arm and face. Back then I writhed on the ground, just like he is now. Bilokin's legs thrashed violently, but after a while he stopped moving. Crush looked up at the blue sky and sighed, his voice dropping with a hint of sarcasm. "How ironic. Today is so beautiful." Inside the castle, a voice echoed, "Is it true that Lord Bilokin's entire team has been wiped out?" In the main estate, a man spoke, "The wolf has been reclassified to 5-star level. They said a high-level expert was needed to suppress another." Another added, "If Lord Bilokin hadn't sacrificed himself, Lord Crush wouldn't have survived." The servant couldn't hold back tears, questioning, "What does that mean?" The servant couldn't hold back tears, questioning, "What does that mean?" "Only that failure survived." The butler immediately warned, "Watch your mouth." The butler glanced at him, his voice steady. Bilokin died to protect his younger brother. "Let's honor that noble sacrifice," the head butler of Van Hem said gently, patting the servant's shoulder, his tone softening. "Don't waste the noble death of Bilokin." When Crush heard all this, he thought to himself, "They believe the testimony, so I don't need to worry about being suspected." He slipped his hands into his pockets and quietly left. Thanks to Bilokin, this mission yielded great results. Painful memories surfaced one after another. I had fully adapted to the extreme poison seeping into my blood and confirmed that the 6th officer could somewhat control the frenzy. Through Xnis, Crush raised his hand and a purple flame ignited. I had obtained Black Flame Ignis capable of incinerating everything. He clenched his fist, the corners of his mouth curling up. So when touching the essence of world erosion, this was the result. The black flame was stronger than expected, perfect for a trump card. The color seemed fierce, but others couldn't see it, so it was fine. Now the only issue left at the main mansion was Crush stopping in front of a room, raising his hand to knock on the door. Besides that, the problem to resolve within the main clan was that I had to undergo an investigation. About the abnormal phenomenon in the eroded land, a voice rang out, "Come in." He was still lost in thought, and the cause remained unclear. Crush kept pondering. Meanwhile, the truth was the work of invaders. Its true body was peacefully sleeping in eternal dreams and could only observe reality through its subordinates. An immortal, he opened the door and stepped in. Their activities had begun, meaning I could encounter the subordinates of that immortal at any time. The immortal's subordinates. Hearing a noise, Sephira spoke up. Crush has arrived, she spoke evenly. We are waiting for you. Sephira, 4th grade investigator of the erosion survey. His gaze stopped at Sephira's neck. In that moment, Crush felt a slight tremor. The black star on her was... He reached out to pat her head and laughed. I didn't expect to see you again so soon. She looked confused and exclaimed, Huh? Crush suddenly turned serious and declared loudly, This immortal, I want to negotiate with you. He pointed directly at Sephira. I will erase your immortality in an instant. The corners of her mouth slowly curled up. Tell me you're a regression fake, right? Sephira's eyes suddenly glowed a fierce red full of malice. I'm looking for another destination, but it seems fate has sent me to the wrong place. Where a body is tightly locked in the immortal garden. Although the body is intact, there are no signs of consciousness before reversing time under the command of a servant. I tried to steal his immortality, but that effort failed miserably. I sighed, clutching my arm now with this. The immortal only had enough strength to maintain his recovery ability. He had no energy left to control his subordinates. Mary's gaze was a bit sad, so the reason he ordered so many subordinates was that his true body had been cursed and could not move. How pitiful. If it weren't for Sigrun, would you still think it's pitiful? Have you forgotten that he was the one who caused the lands to erode and spread hell upon us? She stepped forward and pointed directly at Mary. Stop pretending to be noble, Mr. Secret. I didn't mean it that way. Lily's 2 hands intertwined. Anyway, the issue with the immortal has come to an end. There won't be any more meaningless battles. Her eyes held a tiny shadow, but unfortunately her attention was drawn to someone else. You still can't steal immortality, can you? Crush felt shy. That's right, his gaze avoided hers. Even with rebirth, it remains impossible. That chain is not easy to deal with because of the conditions to unlock it. I absolutely cannot achieve that. Returning to reality, the cold voice of Crimson echoed. Tell me you're a regression fake, aren't you? She's like the embodiment of the demon I've been searching for. Yet here I am looking for another destination. Chris looked seriously at Crimson. What makes you think I'm a regression fake? She smiled coldly. The moment a child dares to propose a deal with someone like me, you've already revealed yourself. Only a regression fake would dare to do that. Her claws sharpened. You're trapped in your endless loop, and yet you dare to claim you'll kill me. Someone who transcends time. Don't make me laugh with such blatant lies. Of course you won't let yourself be at a disadvantage. This isn't a direct lie. You're reaching out to confront her because of my skills my mouth crushes from the palm of my hand. At the call, I rushed past Crimson. I could steal your immortality. Her hands tightly clenched, trembled. For you, I've upgraded every decaying region for centuries, just to find someone strong enough to kill me. And now you have the ability to steal the final immortality curse, standing right in front of me. At this moment, she finally spoke. What are your conditions? Crash straightforwardly. Help me become stronger. My skills can only activate when I'm stronger than you. When I'm stronger than you. Crimson maintained her cunning smile. Then I'll take you as my disciple if that helps me escape this immortality. I'm ready to sell my soul to you. Her eyes sparkled when she received the answer. All right. Immediately, Crimson showcased her power. I Crimson Garden August will make you the strongest. The strong winds forced Crush to shield himself with both hands just from his presence. Even just a projection is enough to show overwhelming power. Crimson Garden once possessed power on par with a deity and commanded countless subordinates. Thanks to him, I can become even stronger. My hands trembled. Even if I had to borrow the strength of the Earth Invader, I would protect this world from decay. And from the brink of destruction. According to what Crush knew, his skill was the unique power in the world. By the rules, the regression skill of a deity has returned to his hands in this lifetime. That means I can no longer reverse time at will. If this world perishes again in this era, I will disappear along with it. He tried to reach out to her. I'm glad to have you by my side. Crimson's pupils trembled. She still wore that eerie smile. Crush. Directly pat my head and call me master, once this matter is settled. Crush didn't intend to linger any longer. Now I can leave this place. Crimson was surprised. You don't live here? Crush calmly replied, I haven't set foot here in many years. Then he explained further, I've almost forgotten my parents' faces. In another place, the Van Hem mansion, in the adult area, the Grand Hall of Valkyrie, Sir Crush, a girl, appeared saying, my mother requested to see you. Why does she want to see me? In another place at the Van Hem mansion, in the adult hall of Valkyrie, Mr. Crush, a girl appeared. Mother requested to see you. It's confusing. Does Mom want to see me? She didn't bother to show up while I was still at Tantung. Maybe she heard the rumors that I had changed and was curious about the person who came back, and it turns out she was right. And there's more a shocking announcement for you. The clan leader said that after returning from the Forbidden Area, he wants to meet with you privately. Really, he wants to meet me. The man in your understanding G has reached a semi-divine level. Perhaps he senses something from me through the stars. But that's not all. Lady Aria requests that you stay at the main estate until then. However, my crush isn't someone who has free time, but Bianca is waiting for me and I have a ton of work to do. I can't waste time here. You ask again then. This isn't a direct order from Dad, right? Not waiting for the other person to answer. Then I'll head back first. This attitude caught the girl off guard as my crush just walked past. I'll come back when Dad summons me. Behind the glass door is a woman who has always been watching, or perhaps the carriage will leave the main estate, and he will come looking for me. The city is relatively quiet and peaceful as I move towards a deserted hill. My crush stretches finally escaping that place. I don't plan to go back there anytime soon. Suddenly a beak taps on the glass, keeping it polite. Hey, rude disciple, open the door. You startled me, shouting, you didn't think that such a deep red would stand out so much, huh? She immediately switched to black. Don't worry, I can change colors anytime. See, now I look just like a crow, don't I? Crimson took the chance to mock, now I'm as dark as your soul. In my heart, my crush is determined I must soon lift your curse. However, still curious, I asked, what about your main ability? She in the form of a pitch-black bird, leisurely preens her feathers. You know I can't move my real body. And yet you still touch on my pain, truly a regressive hypocrite with a narrow mind. Hearing this, another figure flashed in my crush's mind, but in reality, he is the one who turns back time. Honestly, I just borrowed his skills, at most a pale imitation, but there's no need to explain this to Cream. As the sun sets, the carriage comes to a stop. Before entering the house, you don't forget to remind me, oh, and there's a girl with white hair at Thantung. Treat her kindly, got it? A cute little dark hat appears as Bianca approaches with a book welcoming me back. My crush quickly says, see, I told you I'd be back. I told you I'd return. Arios hurriedly approached, and my crush asked, Arios, did anything happen while I was gone? He immediately reported, sir, there's a letter for you from Lin. In the letter, I have completed the remedy for the color-changing illness you requested. It almost formed automatically in my mind. When I think of you, I'll deliver it soon. The kiss printed on the paper really leaves one speechless. They say geniuses are often eccentric. You hand the letter back to Ares. When darling Dampharion arrives, treat him with utmost caution. He will be your benefactor. He took it, understood, sir, then leaned close to my crush's ear. By the way, Miss Bianca has been very worried about you. You were surprised. Bianca, Ares recounted, yes, when she heard you were caught in the erosion zone, she immediately prepared a carriage to come to the main estate to see you. Then she planned to walk to the main mansion by herself. Her crush's eyebrows slightly furrowed as a hand shot out right after that. It's been a while since I checked the seal on Bianca. Could it be that with the energy contact from you, the information board revealed the first unlocking condition? Becoming friends with Bianca, much to her crush's surprise and confusion, the first condition has been met, and Bianca's lock has been released.